Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Coffee with Craig, where we talk about all things firearms, policy, politics, culture, media, you name it. We're talking about it right here on Coffee with Craig. So please take a moment, like and share the program, and let your friends know that this is the place to be. Also, if you haven't already done so, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook, and if you want to get all of our alerts, also make sure if you're not following us on Facebook, you can also follow us on Instagram. So make sure you do that. Anyway, also want to make sure you visit fpcgear.com. That's fpcgear.com. It is the place to go to find all sorts of cool Pro 2A swag. We're talking t-shirts, coffee mugs, hoodies, you name it, stickers, you name it, all sorts of cool Pro 2A stuff. But the best part about it is every dollar that you spend goes right back into the fight for our right to keep and bear arms. So you can support the Second Amendment and you can look good doing it. That's fpcgear.com. All right, moving along to today's topic. Many of you may have heard, and I'm sure there's been a lot of news at the end of last week about California. And, let's just say, we'll call it, whether we want to call it Gunmageddon 2, 3, or 4. 15 anti-gun bills were signed into law in the state of California by our governor, Gavin Newsom. Now, I will tell you, in terms of volume of anti-gun bills that have been signed into law in 1 year, this is a record. I don't know of any year we've seen this many anti-gun bills put in place at one time. One can question the broader impact of these as opposed to some of the ones that have been done in the past. But for the most part, what we understand here is clear. And Jerry Brown, the individual who was governor before Gavin Newsom, he was someone who, at the very least, understood that, someone, because Democrats or anti-gunners are in control in both houses of the California state legislature, he realized that, and he was the governor, he realized that someone had to be the adult in the room. So there were often times in legislation where things were just so out of control and so extreme that even he would veto some of these ideas. But Gavin Newsom has made it clear he is not the adult in the room. He will throw whatever kind of temper tantrum he can in order to take away the fundamental rights of law-abiding citizens. If it means he will get his picture in the paper and we'll get people to show up to his press conferences. That he doesn't really care about the impact of some of these laws. So, and once again, 15 bills were signed into law. And I want to talk about some of them, at least the most egregious ones. I want to go over with you right now and kind of explain to you exactly what they mean. Now, there's a full list. If you look in the link in the description of this video, there's a full list to all of the bills that were signed, all the 15. And by the way, there are 2 more that are still out there that he's still looking at. But all the 15 bills and links to the bills, you can read the analyses and all of that. But I wanted to break some of these down for you. All right, in particular, the most egregious ones. All right, so let's start off with this one. Let's start off with gun violence restraining orders. AB 12 was the first one that we're going to talk about. Now, AB 12, what it does is it extends the duration of a gun violence restraining order or a GVRO or red flag law to be 5 years. So in other words, the maximum it can be now is up to 5 years. So keep in mind, someone can come to you, they can they can go to a judge and they can restrict your rights. They can say, look, this individual is a danger to themselves or others, and they ought to lose their rights. And it used to be, you get a hearing within 21 days, and the longest it could last is a year, and then they could come back in a year, and they could extend it or it would automatically end. Now they've expanded it to 5 years. So 5 years, you basically lost your rights. By the time you get to go to court, you have to pay out of your own pocket to get a judge or to get a lawyer or whatever else you need in order to be able to defend yourself and get your rights back. Because, by the way, now you're guilty until proven innocent. And then, no mental evaluations, no mental health evaluations, no nothing. But now they want to make it up to 5 years. That, my friends, is in fact, beyond outrageous. Makes it the longest in the entire country. Okay, but that's not all. You've also got AB 61, which actually expanded who can request these, right? So now you've basically got it now expanded to include your employer, an employer, and or anyone you work with, right? Coworker, once again, anyone you work with. So if you work in a place that has 10,000 employees, any one of the 10,000 employees can request it. Or a teacher. Now, this is anyone who's taught at a school that where you were a student up to 6 months previous, which raises the question, if these are supposed to be quote unquote extreme risk protection orders, well, in particular for the ex parte ones where you don't get a chance to, where you're not there, you don't get a chance to be present. What's interesting about this is that someone up to 6 months ago. So in other words, what's the immediacy? Why, if there is an immediate danger, right, and they haven't seen you in up to 6 months, they can now still request and get your fundamental right to keep and bear arms taken away from you. Folks, this makes California's gun violence restraining order, California's red flag law, one of the most egregious and strict in the entire country. And see, here's the thing. Even though they've been able to increase the number of gun confiscations like fourfold in the state of California, they want even more. The first couple of years, the first year there was less than 100. The second year it was over 100. Last year was over 427, almost 430 gun confiscations, and they want to confiscate even more guns. Now, mind you, this law has already been in place, and yet we still had the Gilroy shooting. We still had the Borderline shooting. We still had the Tehama County shooting. And clearly their attitude is, well, it's clearly because we haven't confiscated enough guns. That is their attitude. And that thar be where they be. Anyway, so that's gun violence restraining order. So those are just two of the bills that were signed into law. Now we're going to move on to the age restriction. Now, they basically have made it, SB 61 makes it so that an adult under the age of 21 years old will not be able to purchase a semi-automatic centerfire rifle, period. Now, you already can't purchase a handgun, but now you're not going to be able to purchase most long guns if you are, once again, under the age of 21, but you are a law-abiding adult. Now, once again, these are individuals who, they are legally responsible for the decisions they make, both criminally and civilly. They're held fiscally accountable for the decisions that they make. These are individuals who we can hand an automatic version of a rifle, right? We can give them fully automatic weapons, hand them to them and tell them to go to a foreign country and defend our nation, but we can't allow these individuals to defend their own home. That's right. They aren't even allowed to defend their own home and their own families with, any firearm. And so that's SB 61. All right, then we get into one that has to do with, this is one that's similar. It deals with what's called precursor parts. This is a bill by Assemblyman Mike Gibson, AB 879. And what it does, it requires that the sale of firearms, or what they call precursor parts, 80% lowers or AK flats, etc., to be conducted through a licensed firearm precursor part vendor. So they're setting this thing up the same way in which, they're setting up a system the same way in which they've set up the ammo registration or background check or ammo sales. The license, so in other words, now you got to go out and get another license in order to be able to sell these quote-unquote precursor parts. Some of y'all out there have a lot more experience with firearms than I do. I don't know what the hell a precursor part is. And quite frankly, I don't believe they really know what a precursor part is because it's very loosely and ambiguously defined in the bill. They'll probably have, the Department of Justice write law, which they're not supposed to do, but probably have them write law, thus abdicating their responsibility and, create a whole new law in order to define something. And we all know how good they are at doing that. But once again, the system and everything that they're setting up is based on the ammunition registration, background check, yada, yada, yada. And we all know that that is a hot ghetto mess where we all know that the system didn't work, isn't working, still isn't working to this day, and yet and still they want to create another system modeled exactly after it. You know why? Because, well, hey, the old system, it got them a lot of good publicity, so that's what they wanted to do. Now, in the end, we all know, because we know Mike Gibson. Mike Gibson's goal is basically they just want to ban all. They just want to include all firearm parts. They want, if you're going to buy a firearm part, whether it's a spring or a grip or anything, they want that basically to have to go through a firearms parts retailer, and they want you to have to get a background check and all of that stuff just to be able to repair your firearm. Anyway, that's AB 879. Moving right along, we had a number of items that were actually signed into law that affect gun shows. There's actually a couple of them. The first one is AB 893. It prohibits the sale of firearms and ammunition at the Del Mar Fairgrounds in San Diego. Now, mind you, there was just a lawsuit where they went to court, and they actually, where the locals tried to do this and they tried to ban it, and, well, let's just put it this way, they lost. And now the state has said, well, you know what? We don't like the fact that anti-gunners in the state said, we don't like the fact that we lost a lawsuit. So guess what we're going to do? Well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to now pass a law, which I am quite confident will likely be challenged in court because, well, hey, they don't care that it's going to cost them money because they're using our money to fight these lawsuits. Interesting how that works. Huh? Doesn't cost them anything. It costs us. Taxpayers are the ones who have to basically fight our own government and pay our own money in order to basically defend and get our money back and get our rights protected. But anyway, so that's that bill. We'll see exactly what happens with that because once again, their goal is they want to make sure that you don't have access to firearms. Their goal is also just to get rid of all firearms retailers, but they also want to get rid of gun shows. And we all know there's really nothing. There is no evidence tying any violence or anything, any crime to gun shows. But hey, it's a convenient boogeyman for them. All right, but then we had AB 1669. This is a bill that will apply the same gun show regulations that already apply to firearms dealers to ammunition vendors as well. Once again, see, in California, there are two different groups. You actually have to have a license. If you are not an FFL, you actually have to get a license in order to be an ammunition vendor. This will apply the same regulations to them. And not to give them any ideas, but I'll bet you that the precursor part of the parts vendor, I'll bet you they're going to eventually require the same thing of them. Once again, increasing dramatically the restrictions and the costs that it's going to take, because their goal is they don't want people to be able to sell firearms. They realize you have a right to own one, but their attitude is you don't have a right to sell them. You don't have a right to ammunition. And so their goal to get rid of guns is to get rid of people who sell them so that you can't get one. And if even by some chance you do happen to get one, they want to restrict your ability and they want to make it so you can't get ammunition. So therefore, thus rendering the firearm that you have useless. That there is their goal. But AB 1669 is insidious for another reason, and this is something I've talked to you guys about. I've talked to you guys about in the past. So let's check it out. So as it continues, it authorizes the Department of Justice to charge an additional fee of up to $31.19 to be deposited into the DROS supplemental account. Now, this DROS supplemental account is an account that was actually created, I believe, somewhere. I'm not sure if it was in this bill or somewhere else, but it creates another fund or a supplemental account. Now, what are they going to do with this supplemental account? Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because it also expands the list of regulatory and enforcement activities which the DOJ can spend its DROS supplemental accounts funds to include manufacturing and unlawful or lawful possession of firearms. So here's the deal, folks. DROS. Now, that's called the dealer record of sale. The whole point behind DROS was it is a fee, right? It's a fee that's supposed to go to cover the cost of registering, of doing a background check on a firearm. I call it registering because it is a backdoor registration in the state of California. So I know people say, well, we don't have firearms registry. No, California with DROS, yeah, when you DROS, they list the firearm that you purchased. Yes, they do there's a record of the firearm that you purchased. So yeah, they are creating a registry. But even worse is now they want to expand that. They want to expand what the money can be used for to include going after people who have either illegally purchased or legally owned firearms, or people who even have legally owned firearms, and do the enforcement of that. Now, mind you, none of this has anything to do with the legal purchase or the background check of a firearm. See, by definition in the state of California, it requires a 2/3 vote to pass a tax. By definition in California, this is a tax. But they're calling it a fee. By calling it a fee, it only requires a simple majority, which means they're basically trying to find ways that they can take gun owners' money in order to fund their gun confiscation programs. Folks, they are taking our own money, and they're going to use it to confiscate our firearms. Like these, DOJ agents. Now, mind you, we keep giving them more and more money, and yet the list of firearms and individuals who are on the armed prohibited persons list, these are individuals who are known to have purchased a firearm because they did it legally, and they're also barred from owning firearms because for one reason or another, whether it's they were convicted of a felony or a prohibiting misdemeanor or a restraining order or something along those lines. They're now in a list called what's called apps, right? That list grew last year despite millions of additional dollars in funding. So now what they're going to do is they want to take even more money from gun owners in order to pay for their pet programs. And they want to break the law in order to do it. Because, well, we all know the law really doesn't mean anything to them, except it allows them to infringe their will and their tyranny on us law-abiding citizens. But that's the insidious thing that is in this bill that a lot of people didn't even recognize. I know those of you outside the state of California are like, man, what are they doing? I'm going to tell you right now, just folks, pay attention because this stuff is going to come to you one day. Look, this stuff just starts here. It may just start here, but it's coming to you one day. Let me tell you. Okay, we also have, and this is another thing when it comes to fees, how they want to price us out of being able to own or possess firearm or exercise our rights. You've got this measure right here. This is AB 1297. This is reintroduced from a gentleman that is unfortunately my assemblyman here in Sacramento, California. It was AB 450. And what it does is it eliminates the existing $100 limit on processing fees for concealed carry licenses, meaning local sheriffs can charge as much as they like. And see, the reason why they want to do this is because one of the things that they do in here is this allows them to include, quote unquote, enforcement of the license. And you and I know that enforcement can mean just about anything that they want. And so when they increase the fee to an astronomical amount, so they can say, well, we're not going to deny you, but we're going to charge you $1,000 to apply for a license every 2 years. Well, we all know that a lot of people can't afford that. A lot of people can't afford to pay that much money in order to have a concealed carry permit. In particular, the people living in communities who really need it, where there is a lot of violence, where there is a lot of crime, they can't afford a $1,000 firearm, let alone a $1,000 fee in order to be able to do it. But guess what? That's exactly what's going to wind up happening. It's exactly what some of these local police chiefs in some of these anti-gun cities are going to require them to do, as well as some of these anti-gun sheriffs. And then they're going to use the money on all sorts of stuff, quote unquote, calling them enforcement programs, but that have absolutely nothing to do with the concealed carry license, just like they're doing with the DROS funds. So those are the most egregious of the egregious. And sadly, Mr. Gun Grabbing Gavin Newsom, he is not done. There's still 2 more bills that are out there that he's going to be making decisions on. And I can guarantee you, now that the anti-gunners see that there is no limit, that there are no restrictions to the madness and to the infringements that this governor will sign, you can bet that next year there will be even more. Now, the good news. The good news is this, folks, is that there will be plenty of opportunities to challenge these things in court. And I say that because some of these things are so outrageous. One of the points of having a quote-unquote adult in the room is so that you can have someone who can say, when you have in many of these cases, you have even their own attorneys explaining why some of these laws, some of these things that they're talking about doing are bad ideas. They ignore even their own attorneys. And so that means that when we go to court, right, when we eventually push these things to the Supreme Court, which will, hopefully we'll be able to do and on a lot of these different items, when these things eventually do get decided and they are deemed to be unconstitutional, that means that they won't be able to be implemented in other states. Now, I'm telling you this now. This stuff is coming. If you were in Washington and you are in Oregon, trust me, it's coming if it's not already there. If you're in Nevada, you guys already see how they're helping build the West Coast wall of gun control and how Nevada is becoming part of it. Arizona is seeing bills like these being introduced. Colorado, folks, I'm telling you, I get people all the time saying, man, it's time to leave California. Well, you know what? This is my home, right? And if someone invades your home, I'm quite sure that your first response isn't going to be, I'm going to cut and run. You're going to stand and you're going to fight. And you're going to fight, if you have, I always use this example. In my house, man, look, if I can fight them, I'm going to fight them downstairs and on the stairwell because guess what? I don't want them coming upstairs to come after my family. Right? That's what we need to think about. You need to realize that if the battle is not taking place here in California or in places like New Jersey or New York or Illinois, then it's taking place where you are, in Texas, in Arizona, in Utah. That's why you need to support organizations and support individuals who are fighting behind enemy lines, because they're the ones that are taking the brunts. They're the ones that are not just in the legislature, not in the legislative fight, but they're the ones that are also taking the brunt of the battle. They're the ones that are also taking the brunt of the fight in the courts. So, folks, anyway, that's kind of it. That's kind of that's the bad news of it all. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate you guys joining us and all of the support that you give us here at the Firearms Policy Coalition. We can't do what we do without you. So thank you. And let's continue the fight, because trust me, the fight is not over. Remember, this is a fight for our civil rights. We've got to use them, or we're going to lose them. You guys take care.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.